Menstrual cycle is not a sickness.
My mom looked at my pant and she immediately told me, "You've started your periods."
I think I was in high school. Yeah, that is when I started I saw my first period. I find it very interesting, so yeah. My name is Mildred Nafula from ADS Western.
My name is Edna Kibisu. I work at ADS Western as the executive assistant. I remember I first got my periods when I was in class 7.
I think I was in high school. Yeah, that is when I started I saw my first period.
I was 12 years. I was at home alone, and I just saw something on my pant which I felt was weird. So I got scared because I was wondering if I'm dying. I was a bit, I freaked out. That is the word, I freaked out. So luckily in the evening when my mom came from work, I called her to the bathroom and I showed her my pant. I told her, "Mom, I've seen something and I'm scared. I don't know what it is."
May 28th is a day that we celebrate the World Menstrual Day. This is because majorly the 28th day represents the 28 days of a woman's cycle, and then the 5 days, the fifth, which is the 5th month of the year, represents the maximum number of days that a woman goes on her period.
My mom looked at my pant and she immediately told me, "You've started your periods." So that is when I first discovered that I have started my periods. I didn't have any form of pain. I just saw that blood and I was like, what is going on? Yes. So my mom immediately after that just told me to shower and brought me some pads in the bathroom, and then after that she summoned me and she told me that she wanted to talk to me. She showed me the calendar and first of all she told me that today is your first day of getting your periods. So she showed me on the calendar that I need to be marking on the calendar. And then she started telling me that now I am a grown-up and I can get pregnant. So she told me that I need to be careful being around boys because now I can easily get pregnant, and that is how I started my periods, and that is how I started fearing boys.
This is a conversation that I've been having with my mom before I started, because I started mine a bit late, and so I used to like ask her, why am I not having this? Why are my friends from primary, you know, some of them started as early as primary. Yeah, so why had I not started, and was something wrong with me? It's something that was always there. It was something that was always constant. I really just wanted to know why it's happening, why it's not happening. So yeah, with time, I guess I got to understand that every woman has their own days and we all have our own hormones, and yeah, I got to understand that. So yeah.
At first when I started, I didn't have pain. But then as time went by, I started getting period cramps, which were very intense. At some point, even walking was a problem. You just want to be in specific posture. You don't feel like eating anything. You don't even want to talk to anyone. And so they have changed in the course of the years. There are times they've been extremely painful. There are times they have been manageable. There are times the number of days where the pain is there has either reduced or increased. So it could be 2 days where I'm in pain. It could be 1 day. It could be 3 days. So it has varied. and the other thing is that during my periods, over the course of the years, I have experienced very heavy menstrual periods, and I've also experienced light periods. So, and this has affected me in so many aspects, because now where the periods have been quite heavy, I feel uncomfortable going to school, going to work, sitting around people, because I'm afraid that I may stain or soil my clothes. So that has really made me a bit uncomfortable during that time of the month. The moment I'm starting my periods, or I'm about to start my periods, I need to think about money. The first thing, of course, is that I need to buy sanitary pads or any other that one may be using. And so I need to look at my pockets and figure out whether I have money to sustain. Depending on my flow, there are times I may even use 2 to 3 packets of value pack, which again, that may mean that I have to spend much more money. And I think it becomes very, very expensive for me to have or undergo my periods.
Thank you. Some of the challenges that women do face on matters periods and menstrual is, one of them is that they lack of sanitation. Most women or millions of ladies or girls out here cannot access water. And you know, in this period, like in the period where one is going through the menstrual cycle, it is really hard to navigate without water. One needs to cleanse, one needs to wash their hands, and these are some of the practices that are very essential. So when one does not have them, it becomes a real challenge to ladies and women out there. The economical, or rather the transactional, I'd call it the transactional sex, because you find that most girls and women have the constraints of, they have the money constraints. So this is a challenge that comes and leads to them opting for solutions that are not really, really encouraging. They will opt to go get finances from people who will in turn ask for favors, and these favors are like someone will ask them for sex, someone will ask them to, they will use them, and these are things that are majorly facing women in the society. And you know, like a girl cannot afford the pad, like a pack of pad, and then you find that they opt to go get this boda guy who assures them that they will get them the pad or the sanitary towel. This is a sad thing, because most of the time you get that this boda guy's intentions are not real, like they're not true to his words, because what he wants is just to have this girl and maybe have sex with them. And you know, with this they can get pregnant, because these ladies can end up getting pregnant, they can end up getting the sexually transmitted infections and other stigmas. They will end up depressed, because these are some things that are not really, really good when it comes to the societal matters. So as a woman or a girl, there are some of those things that are really, really necessary or important to do. First off, you know, you need like the sanitary towel. That is really important to get. And then after using, or after, because you know, we have different flows. Every woman has their own flows depending on the hormones. So we have those ones with very heavy flows, some with medium, and some with actually not so much flow, yeah. So we find that most of us women, we have that we need to take care of ourselves in a way that really cares, or a way that really matters. We need to I'd say in the period of 3 to 6 hours, one needs to like change regularly the sanitary towels, and then you need to, after changing, you need to cleanse. You need to cleanse yourself. You need to clean your hands. You need to properly dispose these sanitary towels.
After visiting a number of doctors, I was informed that it is just a hormonal imbalance issue, which can be treated by medication, but it can also be treated through other, maybe I can call it natural ways. And so the doctor advised that I need to work out more, do exercises and eat healthy, because the body has its own way of regulating the hormones. And so I took medication for some time, and then I started seriously exercising. And I was very consistent with exercise. I was working out every day, 6 days a week, trying to eat healthy. And indeed, I observed change. I was able to witness a very significant change in my flow, which reduced in terms of how heavy it was. A lot of women have dealt with this for so many years, but there is need for awareness around, first of all, getting checked, but also understanding that there's ways of managing this condition called PCOS. So for me, I can say that after the exercises, working out, there was significant improvement. The other huge problem which I mentioned around finances is something that is affecting so many women out here, especially in rural setup, because you'll find that, for example, the cost of a sanitary pad would be between 100 to 250 at the least. And this is something that we go through each and every month. So you can imagine a family that can barely afford even that 100 to eat. Will someone look at the food they put on the table, or will they look at purchasing a sanitary pad? So that is a huge challenge in the rural setup. And you will find that as much as it is something that is normal, a lot of women are struggling and suffering because of what we are calling normal for us. And another thing would be lack of access to, things like water, even panties. I can tell you that there are things like innerwears are also expensive. The least you can get maybe is between 50 shillings to even 1,000, depending on what you can afford. And you can imagine these are things that you use each and every day. So definitely, because you're using every day, the wear and tear is also very high. So you may need to replace often. So you can imagine that for you to use sanitary wear, you need to have innerwear. And if you cannot afford that, so you can see that that is even a bigger problem. But even on top of that, there is also things like water, which again, it's not easily accessible in the rural setup. Someone has to go a number of kilometers to fetch water, to get access to water so that they can be able to shower. So all these things affect our self-esteem as women, because now when it gets to that period, you just want to isolate yourself. You want to avoid contact because you feel unclean, you feel like maybe you're uncomfortable, and so makes a woman lack confidence.
Menstrual cycle is not a sickness. This is something that is I'd say a way of life. I'd say it's part of us as women, and it's a beauty that nature has granted unto us.